The one thing we should take a minute to discuss is what happens if we get injured while we're on our vacation. Let's talk about that.
I'm gonna keep it real with you.
But the unfortunate reality is sometimes when we're going and having fun at other places, sometimes bad things happen. The question is, what do we do when we get injured when we're on vacation? One of the things we first have to understand is, how do some of these injuries occur? Let's talk about some of those reasons. Property neglect. So many times when we go to these different destinations, the owner is not taking care of the property the way that he should be. Sometimes they're cutting corners, sometimes they're unaware of situations, or sometimes they just don't care. But in those situations, you've got to be really, really careful, because those are the things that lead to injuries and damages to yourself and to your family. Lack of safety features. I've seen situations before where an owner of a premises didn't change a 9-volt battery in a smoke detector, and a fire happened and people lost their lives. In other situations, you can fall asleep when the carbon monoxide monitor isn't working and you'll never wake up. It's things of that nature that we have to be careful and cautious of to make sure that those safety features that we have in our own homes are in the new locations we choose to vacation on. Environmental hazards. You have to be aware of the weather. You have to be aware of potential hurricanes and tornadoes. Heck, you have to be careful of the sharks out there in the water. You have to know your environment and making sure that it's safe for you and your family. So what are your rights as a guest at another property or location owned by someone else? As a guest on another piece of property, the owner of that property has a duty to warn you of any risks or issues that they are aware of that might create risk to yourself or to your family, and to disclose any kind of conditions that you need to be aware of. They have to disclose to you any potential risks that are there. If they know, for example, there's a problem with the floorboards walking up the stairs, they have a duty to either fix that floorboard, protect you from it, or at a minimum, disclose it to you so you're aware of it, so you know to stay clear of it to avoid any type of danger. So what are you supposed to do if in fact you do get injured on someone else's premises? Well, first and foremost, the first thing you need to do is seek proper medical attention to make sure the situation does not get worse. Secondly, you need to make sure that you put the homeowner or the owner of that residence or premises, put them on notice as to what has happened. You have to disclose that information, let them know about it so they have an opportunity to make an incident report, to warn other potential guests, to make sure that they are aware of that situation or that circumstance. The next thing you need to do is properly document what has happened, either with documentation from the hospital, taking pictures with regards to evidence, getting witness statements from other people that saw it or have information. Make sure you properly document it, because that's the time when it's fresh on your mind that you'll be able to keep the best notes, you have the best memory of the situation, as opposed to months later when you're in another country, another city, or you're busy taking care of other business. So after being injured, this is really important in terms of navigating and balancing liability versus insurance. One of the things that I do now, I'm very careful to make sure that if I'm going to a particular place, I make sure that they have requisite insurance and have the ability and resources such that if something does happen, they have the ability to pay me. Because the last thing you want to do is go to a place that's really, really cheap. Then you find out down the line that they don't have adequate insurance, they don't have adequate resources to take care of an issue if something happens. So you've got to balance those things, right? You've got to do research with regards to finding out, do they have insurance? How much insurance do they have? Do they have the ability to take care of issues when things come up? How are they going to deal with it? So before you go on your vacation, before you make deposits, do your research to make sure that if things do go bad on your vacation, that the defendant, the premises that you're dealing with, has the ability to properly deal with the situation and to make sure that your needs are properly met. Go online, do some research. What do the reviews look like? What are other people saying that have stayed at a location, that have dealt with the same defendant? Find out what's going on with them so that you're properly prepared to deal with that situation. If I'm a lawyer representing an injured party who has been injured at someone else's premises, the first thing that I'm going to do is find out who owns that premise and is there an Airbnb involved? Who are those particular targets that are potentially responsible for me to look as financial resources to take care of my client's damages? Okay, and as lawyers, we're going to go after everyone who's potentially responsible and get them to prove that A, they were not responsible, they were not negligent, and find out what resources they have to take care and satisfy my client's damages. So it's really important that you're picking people to vacation with that have sufficient insurance, reputation, resources to deal with issues and problems when these things do happen. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till you break your leg and you find out that the cheap place that you have doesn't have any insurance and you're going to be chasing them around for the next 5 years to try and get your money. You don't want to deal with that situation. And finally, we want to talk about preventative measures, which means that before we do anything, before we start getting lost in this beautiful vacation spot that looks just so wonderful, we're going to do our research. We're going to make sure that what we think we're getting matches what we believe we're going to get as related to their paperwork. Make sure you understand the fine print of your contracts. Read your contracts carefully. If there's a term in there that you don't understand, make sure you get someone to go over it with you. Because at the end of the day, your arrangement with that homeowner, with that vacation spot, is going to be defined by that contract that you've signed. So don't give your rights away unless you're fully prepared and you understand what's contained within that document. So hopefully you go on your vacation and you go have fun in the sun and enjoy yourself without any problems at all. But if you do have problems, make sure you consider what we've just talked about, and I hope the information we've discussed is helpful. If you have any concerns about what we've talked about, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss. We're glad to kind of point you in the right direction, or comment below. We'd love to answer any questions we can before your vacation or even afterwards if something does happen. I'm attorney Darren Miller. Have a great trip. And as always, this is DLAW.